Goeiemorgen, good morning, sawubona, buongiorno, salamat. How to make a standing treble. This is a UK term. In the US this would be a standing double crochet. It is also referred to as stacked double crochets in the UK or stacked single crochets in the US. And you will see soon why that is. It's a logical way of calling it, but the height is defined by calling it a standing treble. When you start a new row, instead of making turning chains, you can make a standing treble. To make it, make sure the loop on hook is not too tight. Without making any turning chains, directly insert the hook into the first stitch of the row, unless your pattern specifies otherwise, underneath both loops. Then yarn over and draw up a loop so that you have two loops on hook. Yarn over and draw through both loops, completing a double crochet. This part of the stitch is exactly the same as a standing double crochet, or in US terms a standing single crochet, which is also why it is called stacked stitches, because we will now stack another double crochet on top of this one to move the hook up higher for a taller stitch. To do that, let's first look at the stitch. The stitch at the moment has a front loop, a back loop and two legs, the left leg and the right leg. Insert the hook underneath this left leg of the double crochet. Yarn over and draw up a loop as if you are making another double crochet. You now have two loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both, effectively completing another double crochet, meaning you have two double crochets stacked one upon the other. This is the same height as a treble, so you can continue working a row of trebles. At this point, I want to make it very clear that a standing double or a standing treble, in this case, is not the correct way and turning chains the wrong way. It annoys me when people call one form of a crochet stitch the wrong way and another the correct way. Each one might have their own preference. In some patterns, using turning chains actually has a use and a purpose, and it is not necessary to make a standing treble. But in other patterns, the standing treble might have pros or characteristics that makes it the more preferred choice for that pattern. We're at the end of the row, turn, loop on hook is not too tight, directly insert underneath both loops of the first stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop. There are two loops on hook, yarn over, pull through both, completing a double crochet. Insert into the left leg, there are the two loops. We will not be using them, we will be going under this left leg on which the stitch is standing. Yarn over and draw up a loop. There are now two loops on hook, yarn over and pull through both, completing a standing treble. You will notice here that the standing treble is approximately the same width as the regular treble stitch. In fact, it's probably a little bit wider. That means there are no holes between this stitch and the next stitch any more than there are between the different treble crochets, which is one of the distinguishing features, making it different from a turning chain. The other is that the stacked stitches, because they are worked into the middle of the stitch, are also in the center of the stitch. But when compared to a turning chain, the turning chain comes off the side of the stitch. Let's see that. Compare the two. Okay, so this was the end of the row, and making a turning chain of 3 chains, you can clearly see that the turning chain comes off the side of the stitch, and the next treble will be in the middle of the next stitch, leaving a much bigger gap between the turning chain and the first treble stitch than there was between a standing treble and the treble. And also the turning chain is significantly skinnier than the standing treble, which I've made here. So there's a standing treble stitch compared to a turning chain. It is quite clear that there is a width difference between the two of them. One last time, for a standing treble, make sure the loop on hook is not too tight. directly insert the hook into the first stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over and pull through both, completing a double crochet. Insert the hook underneath the left leg of the stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop. There are 2 loops on hook, yarn over and pull through both, making the standing treble an alternative to turning chains at the start of a row of treble crochet. It also means when you get to the end of the row, your last stitch, you do not have to try to find out which chain to work into, as the last stitch is worked into the top of the standing treble underneath both loops, exactly the same as any other stitch. And there you can see there is no difference between working into these stitches, the regular trebles, and working into the end of the row, which was a standing treble in the previous row. Standing treble as an alternative to turning chains. Thank you for watching, and until next time, have fun crafting!